Dave Bryan's my name. I was called Stretch in the Army, and that was 60 years ago I was given that nickname, and I'm still Stretch. I served with the 5th Battalion Royal Australian Regiment for my 2 years of national service, and I was with 5AR in Vietnam from the 28th of April till the 13th of May. 28th of April 1966 till the 28th of May 1967. That's it. Well, it used to mean a lot, but they've changed the definition of veteran now. I believe you've only got to serve half an hour in the Army and you're called a veteran now. But as a veteran, I'm proud to be a veteran, and it's something, part of my life, which I had sort of no control over, but it's sort of helped shape the person I am today. Yes, I'm proud to be a veteran, and I'm proud of all my veteran mates. We were the first national servicemen in Vietnam, and our very first operation after spending a week or 2 weeks acclimatising was an operation called Operation Hardyhood, and we trained back in Australia using blank ammo and all that. And my biggest recollection of Vietnam, and it sticks in my mind to this day, was we're in helicopters going on our first operation, and it was in the area of Nui Dat where the task force was eventually set up. And we're in the helicopters, there's no doors, I've got a machine gun across my lap and we're looking out. And as we're landing, and you can hear, you can see smoke from artillery, etc., and a bit of small arms fire. And then you jump out and hit the ground. But just prior to that moment of hitting the ground, you think, shit, a man could get killed here, this is the real thing. And that moment, just looking out of that chopper all those years ago, it's just stuck in my memory, and the rest of it's a bit of a blur at times. Yeah. During the war, I made a lot of friends and mates for life, actually. And there's nothing I wouldn't do for these fellas and the old mates. And it's a camaraderie and all that sort of stuff. And it's an experience that not many people will have, being in a combat situation and relying on all your mates. And it's just, I love all these blokes, and actually there's one of our mates being buried today. But it's changed my whole life. I don't know what I would have done. It's those sliding door moments. What would have happened to me if I hadn't been called up or got into the Army? How would my life have been? Would I have been a brain surgeon? A bloody vagrant? But no, the Army. I mean, there's been a lot of hiccups along the way. I've had 2 marriages, etc. Lost child, da-da-da-da-da. So it's been a big part of my life. But at the initial stage when I came home, it was one of those things I just went on with my life and wanted to forget it, but it was hard to forget. It just kept popping up. But I've just come back from a reunion up in Gold Coast and caught up with a lot of mates, but they're all dropping off the perch. I mean, we'd have 800 to 1,000 at the original reunions. Now we're down to about 300, and I don't think there'll be many more. Because, how does it make me feel? Well, it's quite sad when you're losing, we're all getting old. I mean, I've just turned 80, and, it's just fact of life, death. But you never get used to it. I mean, yeah. But it comes to us all eventually, but you have a different outlook on life. You want to squeeze every moment you can into every minute of the day now, because we've only got this much left. The ANZAC spirit, it's the epitome of mateship. I mean, there's a lot of stuff said about ANZAC and over the years, and I've read a lot about it, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for the old ANZACs, because, we've got a lot more help when we came home than they had when they came home. They just went off into the bush and, no one cared. But we're being well looked after, and ANZAC, look, as far as the ANZAC spirit goes, ANZAC Day is one of those days I proudly march, and I feel, it's one day a year you get to wear medals, and wear them proudly. And yeah. Oh, this is a photo that was taken in 1966, and we've been patrolling through a mountain range called the Nui Tai Bais, and we'd been walking along for a few days, and I happened to have an Army PR fella behind me, and he was a captain. He was there to just report on what we were doing, take photos. And he was behind me and he said, "Hey, Stretch, is it always this quiet?" And I reckon he just got the words out of his mouth and all hell broke loose and shit hit the fan, literally. And so this photo eventuated by this fella being at the right spot when we were getting the wounded out. I was tasked with helping a mate of mine get him onto the chopper, and we put a few blokes on the chopper that day. We had about, I think, 7 or 8 of our platoon wounded, and that was booby traps because the forward scouts had come across a trench just off the track, a newly dug trench. The shovel was still there, and then he heard voices, and then the next thing they started shooting, and anyway, we did the usual contact drills, but the boys stumbled into some booby traps and mines, and just bang, 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 we had to pull back. So when we pulled back, they took that photo when we put him on the chopper. And that photo came back to Australia with a story attached to it, and it's one of those photos that sort of, well, they tell me now it's an iconic photo for Vietnam. It's in just about every other book that's been written about Vietnam, and it's a shame I never got royalties for it. I'd be a rich man now. Oh no, there was other moments. We had other occasions where I remember St Valentine's Day, 1967. We moved through the night to form a perimeter around a village called Newt. And what we'd do is at daybreak we'd move right in close to the huts, and then they'd flush out any VC that were living there. Or sleeping there overnight. And we had a bloke called Captain Milligan, now 2IC of our company, and he'd been posted to an Arban South Vietnamese outpost so they wouldn't shoot us when we were walking past them in the middle of the night. So I was tasked with going and getting him and bringing him back with a couple of other blokes to getting back safely to our harbour position around this village. And I put my pack down and made a cup of tea, and then heard this almighty explosion, and Captain Milligan was our company's 2IC. Our company commander, Major Don Bourne, he was our new company commander, his first day in the field, and it was his birthday, St Valentine's Day, and day one for him. He got killed, and a New Zealand artillery officer, 3 of them, got blown just blown up in this mine blast. And I have a photo at home which was taken by somebody else probably seconds before this blast happened, and it shows these 3 blokes standing near this fence, and one of them triggered the mine, and I was about probably maybe 10 metres away, and I just left that spot. And I look at that photo every now and then and think, I'm here today, I've lived to 80 years, these poor buggers got killed on St Valentine's Day. There's no other significance to me than this particular event. It always comes home pretty graphically, yeah. So that was one of our bad days for our company. We lost all our high command. And there was other days too, there was other events, other things happened. But yeah, that St Valentine's Day, that's another thing. Yeah, I've had people say to me, "Oh, what are you going to do for Valentine's Day? Do you know what St Valentine's Day means to me?" I go ranting and raving. Coming back was strange because we came back on the ship. We had time to sort of wind down a little bit, but then we marched through Sydney, had a welcome home sort of parade, got on a plane and came home. Mum and Dad put a party on for me. Next day I'm in the car and I'm driving along the road, and because I'd hadn't driven for 12 months while I was away, and so slow, and everything was slow, but the world went on as normal. Nobody gave a shit. and it was really strange. And I finished up back where I worked before I went away, and the only thing that sort of helped me was a lot of old World War II diggers in the public service in those days, and they used to give me a lot of stick. That's not a real war, mate. That's not a real war. Anyway, that's the crap you used to put up with. And then we had the moratoriums early on and a lot of anti-Vietnam stuff. And I'd be the only person sitting in the office because all the office and staff would go off to the moratorium, have a day off, and I couldn't do it. I mean, as much as in hindsight and in retrospect you think this was a, waste of time, the war in a way, and all the people that got killed. I've done a lot of research over the years and read up on it, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. But no, I had to stay loyal to the blokes that were still in the army. There's no way known to go to the moratorium, and there was all that sort of stuff. And I didn't really think about the war all that much. I was trying to get my life back together. I was engaged, I was going to get married, I was building a house, and then I got married, had kids, and you just go along, get on with your life, and then suddenly, as you get a bit older, it starts to all come back to roost. And I bought a house up in Kangaroo Ground it was a farm actually, a little farmlet, and I lived up there. I used to get up in the middle of the night and go and sit up under a big tree up next to my chook shed and think I was going nuts. And I'd be just sitting up there half the night bawling, Well, that marriage ended in divorce, but a lot of stuff, comes back to you and haunts you, and you just got to deal with it. But anyway, I've got through it. Got 5 kids now, and they're all good kids. Life's good. Got to keep living longer. I had a lot of little stressful times after Vietnam. I mean, life, was bobbing along quite well for a while, and then all of a sudden, starts getting harder. I had things like losing a baby and one lived for 2 days and all that sort of stuff, which was obviously fairly common amongst vets, I think. And that's another story. Don't get me started on it. Agent Orange, they just won't have a bar of that. But Vietnam, it hardened me up for life. Got me so I could handle the challenges of life. But yeah, I didn't, it's not a thing I'd recommend to anybody. But look, I'm glad I went now and survived it. And I'm glad I was in the infantry, because if you're going to be there, you might as well be where it all happens. And I wasn't bored, that's for sure. Never bored. Well, it was pretty bad because I used to, go off into rages, and I remember ripping a phone off the wall. I never actually hit my first wife. I never believed in hitting women, but I punched walls many times. I'd just go completely troppo, or I'd be driving along the road and she'd say something and I'd just about, plant the foot and do stupid stuff and go, whoa. But it was just something I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't explain it. And I went to the repatriation to sort of see what I could get done and help, but there was not much help in those days. They had I think the first person I saw was in the early days of counselling, was somebody that obviously just got out of high school and read it in a book, and I went there once and I thought, no, bugger this, I'll cure myself if I can. So I bought a book and read it. I always remember that book. It was called Rational Emotive Therapy. If you think bad shit, you'll feel bad, and that's just the way I treated it, and sort of never sought help after that. But it was still a struggle. I still, just go off in a rage, crazy, drink myself into stupor at times. But and over the years I got the system improved. Thank God for the Vietnam veterans getting together and having a counselling service and all that sort of stuff, which they've helped a lot of World War II veterans over the years too. But we managed, but it was the help. But you think I'm a digger, an ANZAC, you don't want to admit to having any mental issues. It sort of was a bit of a stigma in those days, but now, I mean, I don't give a shit about it, and I'll admit it. Yeah, I had problems and, even still, you still have moments, but, we get on. The old black dog's always hanging around somewhere. But we survived. I'm still here at 80, yeah. Hope to go to 90 and then 100 if I can. Yeah, look, RSLs. Now, I didn't march for a long while. I can't remember how old I was. I first marched on Anzac Day. Never thought of joining an RSL. Well, I do tell it. I went to the local RSL in Northcote at one stage and just to suss it out and see what was going on and see if I couldn't see anybody and relate to anybody there. And I mentioned that I went to school with a bloke who was in my class. And he was the first Victorian Nasho killed in Vietnam in our battalion. And I mentioned his name, and these people were saying stuff about it and sort of whispering and I don't know what it was, but I didn't feel welcome there, so I just gave it a miss. And then a few years later, I met an old plumber mate of mine, and he was at the QRSL, and he signed me up there. But I just went along for the social nights, have a beer and a sausage and a drink, and go to a few of their dances and things. And then later on, when I joined the Kokoda gym at the repat to do some exercises and all that sort of stuff, there was a few blokes there from the Tramways RSL, and so I thought, these blokes, they're all good fellas, and we got to be good mates. So I joined the Tramways RSL, and the rest is history. And I tell you what, the old Tramways at Gore Street, that was like a home away from home. It was like going home to Grandma's lounge room. It was great until all that crap happened and it got, they destroyed virtually. But it's starting to feel like that again now. It's got that homely feel, and it's just getting together with the boys and having a chat and a drink, and you can only really relate to your own blokes that have been through what you've been through. That's the beauty of it. You just don't talk to anybody else about what you've done or whatever, because no one cares and no one's listening and they haven't been there, so they don't. I think you're just a raving old lunatic. But other than that, no, this has been great, the RSL. I'd like younger generations to realise that war's no fun and it's not a big game, and you can get hurt, and there's a lot of pain at the time and after. And my wish is there'd be no more wars, but it's not going to happen. We haven't learned from the past, and we never will. And it's one of those things where it's always the local fellas and that get caught up in it and suffer the most, whereas the hierarchy and the politicians, they just make the decisions with no idea what they're putting you through. If you read up on World War I, God, I remember going and watching the movie ANZAC, that Australian movie with Mel Gibson. I walked out, I was screaming out, "Pompey bastards," because they sent the Aussies over the top, ignoring what they were told was happening. And this is the thing, if people are more aware of, the suffering, even in Ukraine, etc., it's the average Joe that gets thrown up in the sharp end and bloody cannon fodder. So I would tell young people about war, just keep away from it. Be a pacifist. Peace, that's my theory now, my story, peace. I would hate any of my kids to go to a war. I'd chop off their trigger finger if it had to keep them out of it. But it's such a waste. I'd always say if our country was at risk, I would even sign up now. But not for someone else's war and some political and economical bloody thing that some politicians organised to, buy more oil or get cheaper oil and stuff like that. Most of the wars are caused by multinationals and wealthy bastards. They don't give a shit about the average Joe. Anyway, Oh, shut up, I'm on my bandwagon now. I'm a soapbox.